What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm break down what's happening to the market thus far, what's going on with earnings that just came out, what's happening with the economic calendar, what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I break into devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500 into the account, you are guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 free stocks. This offer ends very, very soon in just about 9 hours. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening to the markets. Looking at SPY, we saw this thing drop quite suddenly when we were about to open. Got this nice little push up once the PCE data report came out. Everything was aligned with expectations in terms of the data, and the market actually liked this, which is why we saw a nice little pop. But then intraday, SPY got this nice little sell-off, which was a trap to get a lot of people to short, a lot of people to sell, only for it to get bought back up towards the end of the day very, very slowly. It was very slow, and SPY made a full recovery. We also saw this thing get very close to the all-time high before coming back down. And overall, we got a nice green day on SPY. The question is, what's going to happen moving forward? I want to break that down real quick. So as a reminder, I just want to call out that tomorrow is going to be Friday, March 1st, 2024. The market's going to open at its normal time. Then 15 minutes after the market opens at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the S&P Global Manufacturing PMI coming out. Then at 10 o'clock a.m., we have the ISM Manufacturing PMI, the ISM Manufacturing Employment, more and more data on construction spending. And then we also have the Michigan Consumer Sentiments data. So we have the 5-year inflationary expectations, the current conditions report, and all these other pieces of data. It's a lot of data involving inflationary expectations, manufacturing, and things like that coming out at 10 a.m. So expect some high volatility for the first 30 minutes of the day tomorrow, and we'll see what the data causes. Then after all of that, we just have a bunch of Fed speakers to conclude the day. We have Logan from the Fed, Waller, and another one all giving their speeches. They start off at 10:15 and go on until like 12:15 p.m. And then after that, we have Daly from the Fed giving a speech at 1:30 p.m. and then Kugler giving a speech at 3:30 p.m. So a bunch of Fed speakers later on. We'll see what they cause. So this is how the day goes. Lots of data comes out for the first 30 minutes and a bunch of Fed speakers after that. Now, when it comes to earnings affecting the markets, I just want to call out that right now we have Fisker and Dell still doing their calls. They still have earnings coming out. But then for tomorrow, we have Plug and Fubo TV. So far, I think the majority of the moves are done for these companies nonetheless. Fisker ended up seeing a big free fall because their earnings were not the best. So let's talk about this. Overall, 2023 was a very challenging year for Fisker, including lots of delays with suppliers and other issues that hurt them from when it came to delivering their Ocean SUV as quickly as expected. That's according to their CEO. And then after that, there's a lot of other obstacles that got in the way, made things a lot more difficult for them, and other things that made things harder for them to negotiate. They intend on cutting about 15% of their workforce, and that isn't the best of news to hear. But on top of this, they also mentioned that during Q4, there's a loss of $1.23 per share on $200 million in total revenue. So that's actually a total loss of about 13 cents per share when you adjust it. So not the best of things. And then for 2023 as a whole, the EV maker reported a loss of $2.22 per share and $279 million in revenue. Once again, that's not that far away from what we saw during the previous previous year, excuse me. And it's actually a worse loss. So the loss got worse. Revenue got a little bit smaller, so not the best of year for them. On top of this, for 2024, they're saying that their outlook is going to be much more conservative than 2023. They're expecting to see 20 to 22,000 deliveries. Shares are down 34%. They did not have the best 2023. The outlook is not as strong, and that's what's hurting them big time. So very negative for Fisker, very sad news, but it is what it is. It's part of business, it's part of how this game is played. For Dell, their earnings were actually absolutely astonishing. They did very, very well. The share price is up over 15%, absolutely killing it. They beat expectations, and we saw a rising demand for AI servers. So the shares of Dell Technologies popped as we got some good reports, and let's actually talk about them. EPS was $2.20 adjusted, beating expectations of $1.73. Revenue is at $22.32 billion above expectations, just slightly. We actually saw their overall revenue for the fiscal 2024 was at about 11% of a drop relative to what we saw a year ago during the quarter. But despite that, they still beat a lot of earnings. Now, even though that is the case, what helped this thing still run anyways is the fact that some of their sectors did very well, especially in the AI space. And they mentioned that there's a strong AI optimized server momentum continues, with orders increasing 40%. So a 40% increase in orders, and we're seeing lots of growth, helping them grow by over $2.9 billion, and that was huge for them. So that being said, we're expecting good growth for 2025. That's what they were saying. Good growth. But they did mention that macroeconomic environments are causing some customers to be cautious about infrastructure costs. Despite that, the company is still in good hands. So how would I go about this? Basically, they had a strong year overall. Earnings beat expectations, but they were at a somewhat of a loss in compared to what we saw, or they weren't as like strong as what we saw like a year ago during Q4. But despite that, strong guidance really helped offset that, and they're still doing very well, which is why the share price is soaring. That ended up being, excuse me, that ended up being king for them. Anyways, when it comes to other factors affecting us, we also have SPY over here. Looking at SPY, we have a potential inverse head and shoulders like structure, nice cup accumulation structure, and this does look bullish to me overall. I'm going to double check on our 4 hour. We also look bullish. That is true. So just to be safe, okay, if you're a big bear, make sure you watch our support at 507 to see how well this holds. If we lose this, a bigger drop could be coming to about 506.5 and 505. If we lose 505, we turn bearish, but it hasn't done so thus far. We're pretty far from that right now. On top of this, we have over 800,000 puts expiring with a puts to call ratio that's over 3.0. There's a very good chance that we might see another short squeeze. We might see this thing kind of repeat the trend. I think we might get a little pullback when we open, then start pushing higher, and I think we might try to break up at 509. And I think we're going to be testing 510 very soon. If we break this, so we have some tight resistance at 510. If we break this, our next target is going to be all the way up to 512. I'd be expecting 512 soon if we get above the 510 area. So watch and see how well it does. I do anticipate some more upside. We might drop at first and then just continue pushing. And a very nice accumulation. I don't think SPY is done quite yet. I think it has more room to keep going higher. All right. For a couple of other tickers out there, there's also Tesla. Now, Tesla's not looking as great. I do want to note that there is a possible distributive structure that's developing. You could also say this is like a left shoulder, this is like a head, and this is a right shoulder, and Tesla's looking kind of weak. You could say that, but I'm not going to really pick a side right now. I have to see what happens with news, not to mention the way Tesla moves. So if Tesla wants to be bullish, we have to break 202.5 and then 205. If we break above 205, I will turn more bullish, and I'd be expecting 210 plus to 212. If we fail to do so, if we end up sinking back down, watch 198 as key support. If we lose this, a bigger drop is coming all the way down. I would say to at least 195, if not 192. So looking at Tesla, I do want to mention that this overall pattern does favor bears slightly more. We have a triple top. Tesla failed to get that break at 205. We also have this double rejection that came at 202.5 before and after. So this does suggest a triple top rejection for Tesla to come back down towards 197.5. That is looking a lot more probable, and even potentially even lower levels. But just to be safe, I'm not really completely convicted because there's a lot of trickery in this stock. So watch your levels. We are range bound right now, going back and forth between 198 and 205. If we break 205, I'm still bullish. I could turn back to bullish. If we lose 198 and 197.5, I'm back to bearish. I'm going to honestly be in the middle, but I do want to note that this formation does tend to favor bears more often. So there's a good chance we might actually see that happen. Just wait and see just to be safe. Now for the QQQ, we got a nice recovery move. We're going to be watching 438 as support. If that fails us, watch 437 followed by 436.25. Watch resistance at 440. If that breaks, we'll be looking for a push all the way up towards about 442. Now, with this, this nice break that essentially came, watch this 440 resistance. See if we can try to break this. The QQQ is looking a bit more bullish, making higher highs and higher lows. I think it's going to retrace a bit tomorrow and try to get a bounce and watch to see if we can break 440 or not. That's going to be a tight resistance to watch for. The last time we hit 440, we rejected, so we'll see if we reject or not. But there's a very good chance the QQQ is going to try again. I also want to note that this relates to Nvidia. Nvidia got a nice little breakout right here. I wanted to call this out because Nvidia is showing some nice life right now. Looking at Nvidia, this thing got a breakout from this resistance. We made a higher high here. We broke this low, higher high, another higher high. It's trying to uptrend. Now it could come down a little bit, retest, 790, then try to bounce and break above 800. To me, it looks like this could be forming a kind of like an inverse head and shoulders like structure if we kind of like ignore this wick. I think that it's going to be approaching 800. I do believe it's going to hit 800, try to break that. If it breaks, 807 is coming. This could help the QQQ. Might retrace a little bit, but look for a move towards 800. It does look a bit more bullish. Make sure you watch the levels just to be safe. We also have 790 as support, 782.5 and 776. Resistance is 800, 807, and 812. I do think it's going to come down a bit, then try to push up towards 800 plus. I do favor that somewhat more. For Apple stock, okay, Apple's not looking that great. Apple's on this big downtrend and failed to break the yellow trend line of resistance. And now we're just barely holding above 180. So if Apple's bearish and we lose 180, watch 179.5. If we lose that, there could be a bigger drop coming towards the high 178. If we're bullish, you want to see it break 181.36 to 182.5. But overall, this thing is on a slight downtrend, not looking the strongest. So just be very careful. We could see this thing sink a little bit more. We'll see how Apple does. So be very, very careful with the way it's moving. So with that being said, that is it for the main five I typically go over. Let's go over a couple more. For Rivian, Rivian is on a slight little uptrend. Watch resistance at the 20 EMA at 11.37. If we break this, we could be looking for a push back up towards 12.5. If we fail to do so, we could reject. But let's see if we can try to break this. We're kind of stuck here, kind of shuffling. We'll see how it does. Going to be looking for 11.37 to be tested, and we'll see if it rejects. I do think there's a chance it might reject temporarily, but it may make another attempt to get back up. So we'll see if Rivian can achieve that break. If it does, it's going to be fine. If it doesn't, it is what it is. So look for a little retracement, then an attempt to break this resistance. And if it does break it, we could get back to the 12s. For SoFi, we called it $9. We actually got that move. Going to be looking for a little retracement, could retest 8.8 and then bounce off that and start pushing back up towards 9.2. It is very, very tight in a range, so look for a little drop and bounce, but it most definitely has potential to push even higher. For ARM, this is nearing a bullish PPO crossover. It does look kind of bullish to me. Going to be looking for a push for 147 and then 150 if we continue to break out. Also, we have resistance at 144.69, followed by 147 and 150. So watch to see if we get that break. I think it might backtest 138 to 140, then break out. I think it has more upside coming. I favor bulls slightly more. For Supermicro, this thing is starting to break out. It was very indecisive today and finally got that break. Going to be looking for a push towards 900 in my opinion. It might retest 900, then shuffle up there. But I think it might try to push a little bit higher. For Palantir, this is on a slight uptrend. We're going to be watching to see how it reacts to this resistance right here at 25. If we could break this, we could get very close to 25.58, and we'll see what happens after that. For the IWM Russell 2000, this is once again, it's been on an uptrend, but it's starting to actually slow down a little bit. I'm going to be looking for a test of 202.5, then we'll see if it bounces off our 20 EMA or not. Might come down to 202.5, then try to bounce, just continue to consolidate. So 202.5, then 205 again. So look for a little drop and bounce. I find that to be very, very probable. For Microsoft, the notorious Microsoft, this is looking bullish. It actually started off with some consolidation, but managed to get a breakout. So not bad from Microsoft. I think this thing is going to try to test 415. It might come down first. Actually, it's like 410 and then bounce for 415. If it breaks that, we could get close to 420 again. This also looks like an inverse head and shoulders like structure starting to form. Going to be looking to see if we could break 415 then 420. It looks bullish to me, so let's see if we get that break. Overall, for AMD, in my opinion, is quite bullish. It's gotten this very, very nice breakout. It's also broken this high after we got bullish news about them investing more into production for AI chips. I think it's going to retrace just a little bit. It could actually retest 195 flat and then come back down to like 192.5. Then it might break out and get closer to 200. So it might have more room to go, a little drop and bounce. 200 plus could be coming, and then we'll see how it reacts to that. It might have more room left in the tank, in my opinion. The VIX is looking kind of weak. It's continuing to drop. We have this gap down here. So I wonder if it's going to come down to fill this gap, which suggests that the market might push a little higher. So there might be a bounce coming. For the dollar index, we're going to be watching to see if this thing could push higher. It's very manipulated right now, but it's at this resistance at 104.24. If we reject off 104.24-ish, then it could come back down, and that could actually help the market push higher. So watch resistance on the dollar. For Coinbase, as predicted, guys, this is what we predicted. It came down to the 20 EMA, then bounced exactly as we predicted. With this bounce coming, we're going to be watching to see how well it holds above 200. If it holds 200, look for a move back up towards 210. If it loses 200, it's going to retest 196. So we'll see what it does right here. It is kind of choppy. It might come down a bit, then try to bounce. So we'll see how it does. And I think that there's still potential for it to push higher. For Google, this was very weak today. But then at the end of the day, it made a comeback. We're going to be watching this resistance at 139.62. If we could hold above this, I think it could push all the way back up towards 141. If it fails to do so, if it rejects, it's going to be making its way back down to 138. My gut is telling me it might try to break higher towards 141. For Amazon, in my opinion, is looking kind of bullish. So I called 177. If we broke 175, I told you to watch 177. Now, in my opinion, with this bullish break, there's a good chance that Amazon could retrace just a little bit, retest 175, and start pushing higher, grab liquidity, and we could be making our way up towards 180. It could go a little bit higher. For Meta, it's bullish. As I said in the morning, I think that this thing is going to be testing 490 as resistance. If we break that, 494 is coming next. I do favor bulls slightly more, so watch for that very, very carefully. With that being said, thank you all so much for listening. Hopefully this video was insightful and helpful. I went over a lot of tickers for everyone out there. I want to make this one kind of quick, and I just want to give you guys a quick lesson. There are going to be a lot of times in your lives when you have a lot of emotions, okay? Maybe something very bad happens to you. Maybe you become very desperate, and that could sometimes mess up your trading. So always remember the emotional state you're in. Even really experienced traders can sometimes feel this way, and it could happen. So be very careful in your trading. Never forget to always manage risks. There's times where you just want to make a ton of money in one day. Manage your risks. Don't let that get the best of you, and never ever give up on your dreams, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day. I will see you guys tomorrow in the morning, right before all the data comes out, right before the market opens, just to talk to you guys, about how the charts are looking, and then we'll break down what happens when all the data starts coming out. So make sure you're ready for some high volatility tomorrow. The market's going to open, then we have a lot of data coming out 15 minutes and 30 minutes after the market opens. I'll be talking about the pre-markets tomorrow, so get ready for that. So with that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, guys. Take care. The market's at the moon because the long term is still very bright, and peace out.